Every single time you walk into a grocery store, you're making the same choice. You reach for the same fruit. You pay the same inflated price. You take it home knowing it'll be gone in days, picked weeks ago, shipped thousands of miles, engineered to sit on a shelf instead of taste like anything. But here's what most people don't realize. There's a parallel universe of fruits that you can grow at home. Not fruits that take years, not fruits that need perfect conditions, fruits that produce in months, some in weeks. Fruits so abundant that you'll have more than you can eat. Fruits so good that once you taste them fresh, the grocery store version becomes a joke. The problem isn't that these fruits are hard to grow. The problem is that nobody told you they were possible. Right now, I'm going to show you 15 fruits, ranked from surprisingly fast to absolutely absurd, that you can grow in containers on your porch, in your backyard, or even in small spaces. Stay with me until the end because number 11 looks completely fake, white with red seeds, and yet it tastes like the intersection of strawberry and pineapple. And number 14 is going to challenge the way your taste buds work for the next 30 minutes in ways that genuinely blow people's minds. If you're new here, hit subscribe and ring the bell, because every week we break down practical growing knowledge that actually works. And before we get into it, drop a comment below. Which of these fruits will you start growing tomorrow? Let's dig into them.
Number 1, strawberries, the endless runner. We start here not because strawberries are the most exotic, but because they don't just produce once. They actually multiply. And if you let them, they'll fill every space you give them with production. Most people think of strawberries as a summer thing. Pick them in June, move on with your life. They produce runners, long stems that develop baby plants at the nodes. If you let those runners root, you don't have one productive strawberry plant anymore. You have 5, then 30, an entire hanging basket ecosystem of production. Get a June-bearing or ever-bearing variety. Plant them in containers with quality potting soil about 8 to 10 inches deep. Give them full sun, at least 6 hours a day. Within 3 weeks, you'll see the first runners emerging. Pin those runners down with small stakes into secondary containers, or let them dangle. They don't care. They'll root into anything. First fruit appears in 30 to 45 days. Multiple fruits at different stages ripening simultaneously. Peak hits around day 60 to 90. A single hanging basket can produce 100 plus strawberries across a season. Fresh strawberries from a grocery store cost $4 to $6 per pound. You're buying them 3 days after harvest. Yours? You pick them minutes before eating. Use them fresh, preserve them as jam, freeze them for smoothies. And because you have continuous production, you're eating them fresh for months. Strawberries are incredibly efficient converters of sunlight into fruit. They're shallow-rooted, so containers work perfectly.
Number 2, passion fruit, the tropical vine explosion. Passion fruit might be the single most underestimated fruit you can grow at home. Here's why. It produces at a velocity that seems fake. We're talking about a vine that can go from dormant to covered in exotic flowers to dripping with baseball-sized fruits in one season, and that's in a container. Imagine this. In month 3, your plant develops these alien-looking flowers you'd pay to see at a botanical garden. One flower produces 1 fruit. That fruit hangs heavy on the vine, yellow-skinned, wrinkled. You pick it, cut it open. Inside, a cavity filled with juice-enclosed seeds. The flavor hits you. Tropical, tart, bright, complex. Nothing tastes like passion fruit because passion fruit is in its own category. Passion fruit grows fast. In warm climates, a young vine can put out 6 to 10 feet of growth in a season. It's a vine, so it needs support. Trellis, fence, string, it doesn't care, it just climbs. Get a dormant vine or a rooted cutting. Plant it in a 15 to 20-gallon container with rich soil. Put it somewhere it gets 6 to 8 hours of direct sun. Water regularly during growth season. In week 1-2, almost nothing happens. In week 3-4, you'll see rapid growth. By week 8 to 10, flowering begins. Week 8, flowers appear which are visually incredible. Week 12 to 16, fruits develop and mature. Month 5 to 6, full harvest window. One healthy vine produces 30 to 60 fruits in a season, some years more. Each fruit gives you 2 to 4 tablespoons of edible pulp and seeds. You can eat them straight, scoop the insides into yogurt, juice them, or make passion fruit syrup. Commercially, passion fruit sells for $15 to $20 per pound. You're getting abundance from a single pot. If you're in a cold climate, treat it as a seasonal container plant. Bring it indoors for winter. The vine will go dormant, drop leaves, and resume in spring. If you're in a warm climate, plant it and forget about it. It'll produce year after year.
Number 3, ground cherries, the forgotten candy fruit. This is one of those moments where I need to show you something that seems like science fiction, but is weirdly common in heirloom gardens. Ground cherries, also called golden berries or Cape gooseberries, are tiny fruits that grow inside paper lanterns, literally. A calyx, the leaf-like structure, wraps around each fruit like a protective pouch. When the fruit is ripe, it falls out of the lantern and drops to the ground. You pick it up. You peel back the papery husk. Inside, a golden marble-sized berry that tastes like the perfect intersection of strawberry and pineapple. They're not typically in grocery stores. They're not in farmers markets very often. Most people have never seen them, which means almost nobody grows them, which means they remain this weird secret fruit that only gardeners know about. Imagine a compact, bushy plant about 2 to 3 feet tall, covered in those paper lanterns at different stages. Some still green, some yellow, some fully ripened. It looks like a Christmas decoration designed by nature. Seeds or seedlings, plant in containers 12 to 16 inches deep, full sun. They're incredibly low maintenance. They tolerate poor soil better than most plants. They don't need constant water. Seeds germinate 7 to 10 days. Seedlings grown to transplant size, 6 to 8 weeks. First flowers, week 12 to 14. Fruit harvest, days 70 to 90 from transplant. This is where it gets wild. A single plant produces 100 to 150 fruits. A healthy plant in good conditions produces more. You're literally harvesting daily once it starts. They taste like a tart strawberry with tropical notes. Addictive. You'll eat them straight. Preserving, make jam, dry them, ferment them. Baking, use them in pies, tarts, or as a topping. Historically, these were packed in paper husks and sold in markets across Latin America. They're traditional fruit, not obscure. The space requirement, pot, 16 inches, 1 plant per pot. Multiple pots if you want abundance. They're compact. You can grow them on a patio. Number 4, mulberries, the tree that feeds you forever. 1,000 years ago, empires were built around this tree, silkworm economies. The entire Silk Road trade existed because this tree existed. Mulberry trees are so productive, so generous, that civilizations organized around them. Mulberry trees produce more fruit per season than almost any plant you can grow. We're talking about 10, 20 pounds of berries from a single tree every year, starting year 2 of growth. Mulberries are fast growers. A dormant whip, young tree, can put on 3-5 feet of growth in year 1. By year 2, it's producing. By year 3, you're harvesting pounds. Most mulberries get large, 25-40 feet in the wild, but dwarf varieties exist. Or you can keep a standard tree in a 30-40 gallon container and manage its size. Bare root, dormant whip, or container plant. Plant in spring. Full sun location, well-draining soil. Mulberries are insanely hardy. They tolerate poor soil, drought stress, and neglect. This is a plant that wants to grow. The timeline: year 1, establishment. Tree grows, develops structure, may see a few flowers. Year 2, first meaningful harvest, 2 to 4 pounds of fruit. Year 3 plus, 10, 20 plus pounds annually. Production continues to increase. Mulberries ripen progressively. You harvest by shaking the branch over a blanket or bucket. Ripe berries fall. Immature ones stay attached. This is the harvest method commercial growers use. Black mulberries are sweet, almost cloying, like concentrated grape meets blackberry. White mulberries, lighter, more floral, less sugary. Red mulberries, balanced between the two. You can preserve making jam, drying, or freezing. Use them in pies, cobblers, smoothies. Mulberries are high in vitamin C, fiber, and compounds called anthocyanins. They've been used in traditional medicine across Asia for centuries. This is one of the closest things to plant it and forget about it fruit production. Number 5, Alpine Strawberries, the tiny, endless fruit. If strawberries are the foundation, Alpine strawberries are the magic trick. Imagine a plant similar to a strawberry, but half the size in every dimension. The plant is compact, the fruit is marble-sized, but, and this is the magical part, they produce continuously. Regular strawberries have a defined season, peak production in summer, tapering as autumn arrives. Alpine strawberries, they produce spring through the first frost. Same plant, different genetics, completely different calendar. Commercially, they don't matter. The fruits are too small to ship, too fragile to pack. Supermarkets ignore them, so nobody knows they exist. But home gardeners, they're obsessed. They prefer partial shade, actually.
They'll tolerate 4 to 6 hours of sun, which is unusual for strawberries. Plant densely in containers. They spread slowly compared to regular strawberries, so you won't get the runner explosion. You get a tidy, productive plant. Seedling to first fruit, 60 to 75 days. Peak production window, 90 to 180 plus days, spans multiple seasons. These taste more intense than regular strawberries. The flavor to size ratio is off the charts. Use them as garnish. They look decorative. Eat them fresh by the handful. Preserve them whole in jam or syrup. Incredibly dense production in small spaces. A 12-inch pot can produce abundantly for 6 months straight. Number 6. Cape Gooseberries, the golden lantern fruit. Cape gooseberries are similar to ground cherries, but distinct in several ways. They're larger, cherry-sized, they're golden when ripe, and they come with that same incredible papery husk. The plant is bushy, productive, visually interesting even when not fruiting. Called ground cherries in some places, golden berries in others, Cape gooseberries in others. They originated in South America, traveled to South Africa, Cape Colony, and became a global crop. The name variations reflect the journey. Nearly identical growing requirements to ground cherries, but Cape gooseberries prefer slightly warmer conditions and handle humidity better. If ground cherries are the hardy version, Cape gooseberries are the tropical version. Seedlings planted in 14 to 18-inch containers, full sun, regular watering during fruit development. They're moderately thirsty during fruiting season. Seed to transplant, 8 to 10 weeks. Transplant to first flowers, 6 to 8 weeks. Flowers to ripe fruit, 30 to 40 days. Total, 70 to 90 days from transplant to harvest. 100 to 200 fruits per plant, slightly higher than ground cherries, sometimes significantly higher in warm climates. Distinctly different from ground cherries, Cape gooseberries are sweeter, more mango-like, with less of the strawberry tartness. Some say passion fruit notes. They're definitely their own thing. Fresh eating, they're sweet enough to eat plain. Presentation, use the husk as a natural wrapper for plating. Preserves, make jam or poach them in syrup. Drying, dry them with husks on for storage. If ground cherries are the surprise, Cape gooseberries are the premium version. Slightly more work, visually stunning, more dramatic flavor. Perfect for the Instagram moment. Number 7. Figs, the ancient backyard fruit. Figs are one of the oldest cultivated fruits. They appear in ancient texts across Middle Eastern, Mediterranean, and Asian cultures. They were so valuable that specific fig varieties were named and tracked. Emperors cultivated them, civilizations traded them. Figs are absurdly good at producing. They're genetically programmed to produce, multiple times per year, for decades. Dwarf fig varieties exist. Chicago Hardy, Brown Turkey, Celeste, all can be grown in containers. A tree that would grow 15 to 20 feet in the ground can be kept to 4 to 6 feet in a pot. Bare root dormant whip or container plant. Spring planting, full sun, 6 to 8 hours minimum, but more is better. Container, 20 to 30 gallons. Well-draining soil with good organic matter. Figs don't follow a typical growth calendar. They can produce 2 to 3 crops per season in warm climates. Spring crop, smallest, least flavorful. Summer crop, peak production. Fall crop, if conditions permit. Container trees, year 1, minimal production, maybe 5 to 10 figs. Year 2, 20 to 40 figs. Year 3 plus, 50 to 100 plus figs annually per crop. Figs don't ripen after picking. You harvest when fully ripe. The fruit droops slightly, the skin develops a crock at the bottom, and a drop of honey-like liquid appears at the base. That liquid is your indicator. Pick or gently twist. Done. Fresh figs are one of nature's perfect foods. They taste like honey and jam and something floral all at once. Eat them fresh, split them open, spoon them out. Preserve them. Dried figs, fig jam, incredible. Fig paste, fig compote. In warm zones, figs are incredibly easy. Plant and produce. In cold zones, treat as a container plant. Bring indoors for winter, or plant outdoors in spring and harvest until first frost. In very cold zones, container only. Having a fig tree feels like luxury. It feels like you've tapped into something deeper than modern agriculture. Number 8. Dragon fruit, the alien cactus fruit. This is where people's minds break. You can grow that at home? Dragon fruit looks like it was designed by aliens. Neon pink or yellow skin, bright green scale-like leaves protruding from the fruit. Cut it open, bright white or magenta flesh dotted with tiny black seeds. It looks fake. It looks impossible. Yet it grows from a cactus that thrives in containers. Dragon fruit, pitaya, is a vining cactus. It needs support structure, fence, trellis, stake, excellent drainage. it's a cactus. Moderate water, not desert dry, not tropical wet. Full sun, warmth, zones 9 to 11, or indoors or container friendly for colder climates. Rooted cutting or small plant, container 20 to 30 gallons, these get large. Cactus or succulent potting mix, plant against a support structure. Year 1, establishment, climbing its support. Year 2, first flowers, large, white, night blooming, spectacular. Month 18 to 24, fruits mature. Full maturity for heavy production, year 3 to 4. A mature dragon fruit plant produces 5 to 8 fruits per season. Each fruit weighs 200 to 600 grams. It's not volume production like strawberries, but the novelty and flavor make up for it. Dragon fruit is mildly sweet, crisp, mild. It's not explosive flavor, but the eating experience is unique. You scoop the flesh out with a spoon, you get the visual drama, and you taste something nobody in your area grows. Fresh eating, just scoop and eat. Smoothies, it breaks down easily, makes vibrant drinks. Presentation, a cut dragon fruit is instantly Instagram worthy. Saving seeds, they're viable, you can propagate for free. This plant is conversation starter fruit. If you want to grow something that makes people stop and ask questions, dragon fruit is it.
Number 9, Goji Berries, the endless berry bush. Goji berries are marketed as superfoods. You see them in expensive supplements, premium trail mixes, health food stores. They're positioned as rare and premium. Here's the secret. They're not. They're a hardy shrub that produces abundant berries. You can grow them. You can have endless supply. Goji berries are incredibly hardy. They tolerate cold down to -15 degrees Celsius, -5 degrees Fahrenheit. They tolerate drought. They tolerate poor soil and grow aggressively. Dormant whip or container plant. Plant in spring or fall. Full sun, well-draining soil. They don't like waterlogged roots. Container or in-ground, they don't care. The growth pattern, year 1, bush establishes, grows 2 to 4 feet, minimal flowers. Year 2, flowering begins, light production. Year 3 plus, full production mode, 1 to 2 pounds of berries annually. If starting from seed, takes longer, patience required. If starting from established plant, production begins year 2. Peak production window, extends 6 to 8 weeks in summer, early fall. Goji berries dry on the vine. When fully ripe, they're bright red orange and slightly wrinkled. You can pick them fresh, they're delicate, or let them dry on the bush and harvest all at once. Dried berries store for months. Fresh goji berries are tart, slightly sweet, medicinal tasting. They're not eating fresh fruit like strawberries. They're more of a functional food. Dry them for storage, use in trail mix, add to oatmeal, steep in tea. Cooking, use in soups, traditional and Asian cuisines, stew them into sauces. Goji plants produce beautiful small flowers, lavender, purple. During flowering, they're ornamental. Once production starts, they become a food source. They serve dual purposes.
Number 10, Dwarf Bananas, the backyard jungle plant. Wait, you can grow bananas at home? Yes, not just regular bananas, dwarf varieties that produce fruit in containers. Dwarf Cavendish, Pisang Sessier, baby bananas, these are commercially available and productive in home containers. Dwarf banana plants grow 6 to 10 feet tall. The fruits are smaller than supermarket bananas, but sweeter, creamier, more complex in flavor. A single plant can produce 50 to 100 bananas per fruit stalk. Young plant or pup, offshoots from an established plant. Very large container, 30 to 40 gallons minimum. Rich draining soil with compost worked in. Full sun. Warmth essential. They really want 65 degrees Fahrenheit minimum, prefer 75 degrees Fahrenheit plus, or 23 Celsius. Dormant to first growth, 2 to 4 weeks. Growth to flowering, 6 to 9 months. Flowering to harvest, 2 to 3 months. Total, 9 to 15 months to first harvest. After that, continuous production. A mature plant produces 1 flowering stalk per growth cycle. That stalk contains 100 to 150 individual bananas in clusters. Dwarf banana varieties are sweeter than Cavendish bananas, creamier, more complex. Some taste subtly vanilla-like. They're noticeably better than supermarket versions. They're sweeter, better than store-bought. Use in bread, muffins, pancakes, or freeze them for smoothies. Zones 9 to 11, plant outside year-round. Zone 6 to 8, container plant, bring indoors for winter. Zones below 6, must be container, must come indoors. Bananas are dramatic, they're iconic.
Having a producing banana plant in your space makes you feel like you're living somewhere tropical. That psychological shift is real.
Number 11, Pineberries, the strawberry that looks wrong. We're hitting a turning point here. Pineberries are where things get visually weird and biologically fascinating. Pineberries are strawberries that are white with red seeds. But that simple fact creates massive retention because they look wrong. They look like somebody got the recipe backwards. They're a cross between modern strawberries and a South American wild strawberry. The result, white flesh due to lack of the pigment that makes strawberries red, combined with red seeds. Nearly identical to regular strawberries, container-friendly, produce runners, multiplied easily. The difference, slower growing and slightly lower yields, but the novelty makes up for it. Seedlings or plants, seeds are harder to grow from scratch. Plant in containers 10 to 12 inches deep, full sun, 6+ hours. Let them run and multiply like regular strawberries. First fruit 60 to 90 days, peak production 120 days. Runner multiplication identical to regular strawberries. Roughly 60% of what regular strawberries produce, but because they're so unusual, the satisfaction is higher. Pineberries taste like a combination of strawberry and pineapple. The flavor is tangibly different, lighter, more tropical, different acid profile. Pineberries are engagement fruit. You grow them, you serve them to someone, they stop and stare. The visual interruption is massive. The space requirements are the same as strawberries, containers, runners, endless multiplication. Number 12, hardy kiwi, the mini tropical vine. Most people know kiwi fruit as those brown, fuzzy fruits from New Zealand. Those require specific climates. Hardy kiwi is different. It's a smaller, smooth-skinned relative that produces in cold climates where regular kiwis won't survive. Hardy kiwi vines are productive, incredibly productive. A single mature vine produces 20 to 40 pounds of fruit annually. In a container, you're looking at 5 to 10 pounds. Hardy kiwi is a climbing vine. It needs support structure. It's aggressive. It'll grow 6 to 10 feet in a season. In zones 3 to 8, it's completely cold hardy. In zones 9+, you need to provide afternoon shade or it struggles. Rooted cutting or container plant. Large container, 25 to 30 gallons. Trellis or fence for support. Plant in spring, full sun to partial shade depending on climate. Year 1, vine establishment, rapid growth. Year 2, flowering begins, light production. Years 3+, full production. Flowering to ripe fruit, 60 to 80 days. Peak harvest window, late summer through first frost. An established vine produces 20 to 40 pounds. That's dozens of fruits, multiple harvests. Hardy kiwis are smaller than regular kiwis, grape to cherry sized. The skin is smooth, thin, edible. You eat them whole or squeeze the fruit out. Flavor, sweeter than kiwi fruit, less tart, tropical notes. The culinary use, just eat them whole, skin and all. Smoothies, blend with the skin on. Presentation, they look like miniature kiwis, visually striking. Preserving, make jam or jelly. For people in cold climates who thought kiwis were impossible, this is your answer. A productive vine that handles cold and produces abundantly. Hardy kiwi is the efficient producer. Not the most exotic, not the most visually unusual, but pound for pound it produces more fruit than almost anything on this list.
Number 13, Dwarf Pomegranate, the ancient pot fruit. Pomegranates appear in ancient texts across Mediterranean, Middle Eastern, and Asian cultures. They're symbols of fertility, abundance, mysticism. They've been cultivated for literally thousands of years. Dwarf pomegranate varieties exist. Nana, Wonderful Miniature, others. All produce full-sized fruit on compact plants. They're ornamental and productive. They survive in containers. Container plant or rooted cutting. Large container, 20 to 25 gallons. Full sun, excellent drainage. Pomegranates are drought tolerant once established. They don't need constant attention. Dwarf pomegranates grow slowly compared to other fruits. That's part of their appeal. They don't need aggressive pruning. They develop structure naturally. Year 1, establishment. Year 2-3, flowering and light fruit production. Year 3+, mature production. Flowering to ripe fruit, 120 to 150 days. Ripening indicators, skin color changes from yellow-green to red or orange. A mature dwarf pomegranate produces 10 to 20 fruits per year. Not volume like strawberries, but each fruit weighs 150 to 300 grams and contains dozens of arils, seeds. Pomegranate flavor is tart, sweet, complex. The seeds are the edible part. You cut the fruit,
Separate the arils from the pith and eat the seeds. The taste is worth it. Fresh eating. Eat the arils straight. Juice. Extract and drink pomegranate juice. Seeds as garnish. Sprinkle on salads, yogurt, desserts. Preservation. Make pomegranate molasses. Concentrate the juice. Pomegranates are incredibly hardy. They're happy in zones 7 to 11. In colder zones, container grow them and bring indoors for winter. There's something deeply satisfying about a pomegranate tree. The flowers are brilliant orange. The fruits are glowing. The harvest feels ceremonial.
Miracle fruit, the one that breaks brains. Miracle fruit contains a compound called miraculin. When you eat a miracle fruit berry, the miraculin coats your taste buds. For 15 to 30 minutes after, sour things taste sweet. Lemons taste like lemonade. Vinegar tastes like apple juice. Bitter things become tolerable. Your taste buds are actually being altered by a protein from the fruit. That same protein is used in the food industry. Container plant or rooted cutting. Container, 12 to 18 gallons. Acidic soil, pH 4.5 to 6.0. Consistent moisture without waterlogging. Warm temperature, 70 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit ideally. Miracle fruit grows slowly, like really slowly. That's part of what makes them valuable. They're not something you rush. A young plant might take 2 to 3 years to flower, but once fruiting starts, it continues for years. Young plant to first fruit, 2 to 4 years. Patience required. Once fruiting, continuous production over many years. A fruiting plant produces dozens of berries. Each berry is small, grape-sized, but contains enough miraculin to affect taste for 15 to 30 minutes. The miracle fruit itself is bland, mildly sweet, not something you eat for flavor. You eat it for effect. Dinner party novelty, potluck conversation starter, fermentation science demo. It's more about the experience than consumption. Miracle fruit is the outlier on this list. It's not about calories or nutrition or abundance. It's about expanding the definition of what you can grow and experience.
Fruit number 15, blueberries, the endless berry bush. We end where we should end, with something that every person watching already knows is good, but almost nobody grows, blueberries. They are at the grocery store, cost $5 to $8 per pint. They're picked before ripe because they ship better. You take them home knowing they'll last 3 days before something goes wrong. They need acidic soil. That's the main requirement. Beyond that, sun, water, and patience. They thrive in containers. They're compact. They produce for 40 plus years. Dormant whip or young container plant. Container, 18 to 24 inches deep, 20 plus gallons. Acidic soil, pH 4.5 to 5.5. Full sun, 6 plus hours. Plant 2 varieties for cross-pollination, significantly increases yield. Year 1, establishment, minimal flowers, minimal fruit. Year 2, light production, 2 to 4 cups of berries. Year 3 plus, full production, 4 to 8 plus cups per plant annually. A mature blueberry plant produces 5 to 8 pounds of berries. With 2 plants, you're looking at 10 to 16 pounds annually. At $5 per pint, you're looking at saving $40 to $80 per year. Over 10 years, that's $400 to $800 from one corner of your balcony. Homegrown blueberries taste completely different from store-bought. Sweeter, firmer, complex. You eat them and you stop and actually taste them instead of just consuming them. Eat them by the handful. Baking, muffins, pies, cobblers, cakes. Smoothies, freeze and blend. Preserving, jam, syrup, dried. Freeze for winter use. High bush blueberries, standard size, 6 to 8 feet tall. Dwarf blueberries, 2 to 3 feet tall, perfect for containers. Rabbit eye and southern highbush for warm climates. Northern highbush for cold climates. There's a blueberry for your climate. Blueberries grow in zones 3 to 10 depending on variety. Even in warm climates, there are varieties that work. Even in cold climates, there are varieties that work.
Together, these 15 fruits represent a spectrum, from the instant gratification of ground cherries and Alpine strawberries to the patience rewarded dragon fruit and miracle fruit. The point isn't growing all 15. The point is realizing that fruit you grow at home isn't limited to strawberries and tomatoes. The point is that abundance is possible, that novelty is possible. If you made it to the end of this video, you now know about 15 fruits that most gardeners haven't even heard of. You know the timelines, you know the yields, you know the reasons why each one works. Pick the ones that made you curious. Strawberries because they're fast, passion fruit because they're visually wild, miracle fruit because they're neurologically fascinating, whatever caught you. Drop a comment below and tell me,
Which fruit are you most shocked you can grow? Are you going for the strawberries and blueberries? Tell me which one changed something and how you think about growing fruit. I read every comment and I genuinely love hearing what lands for you. If this video opened something up, if it made you think differently about what's possible in a small space, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. And if you know someone who thinks gardening is too hard or growing fruit is impossible or they don't have enough space, share this video with them. Sometimes all people need is permission to try. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.